kills and some ganks very early on. Over on the other side, we see that Fnatic are hovering over Cho'Gath and Orianna. So we're waiting to see whether or not they're going to lock those two in, and it appears that they have. We've seen Cyanide using Cho'Gath yesterday. As we pointed out, it's not a champion that he's sort of famous for. You know, he's known for playing other champions, but he put a very good show on. He landed the Feral Screams and the Ruptures when he needed to. And, you know, in conjunction, you've got so much CC from these three champions alone. And it's a scary start to the game already.
Kester's hovering over that Heimerdinger again, but going back to the Fnatic lineup with that just Orianna and Zhao combo as a pairing, once you land that ball in amongst what is the Seaman lineup, Zyra's going to put her ult down. They're all going to start to split and try and get out of that knockup. Orianna's going to pop her ult, doing a massive amount of damage and bring them all back in towards the middle of this knockup. They're definitely going to get hit by it again. Then probably a follow-up Rupture from Cho'Gath as well. And without the rest of their lineup, that's a lot of damage and a lot of CC already put down on the 4 or 5 members of the 7C6 Seaman.
So they're hovering over. They had been sitting on Heimerdinger for a little while, but obviously it was a troll. Decided to swap it out, and what we do see now is a Nunu being locked in. So this immediately makes me question a little bit. Is this going to be a Lee Sin middle, Lee Sin jungle, Nunu support? Nunu Ezreal support, it has been done. We have seen it before. It's not necessarily the absolute best of synergies, but it can work. And the only reason I'm asking that is just how powerful Nunu is in the jungle right now. We haven't actually seen more than 1 or 2 players actually playing him in the jungle this event thus far, but it is a very disruptive champion and incredibly, incredibly powerful on this patch.
Yeah, we saw amazing play once or twice. We saw some strong counter jungling coming from that. He can still run in the top lane too. He's a very safe but boring top laner. He does very well to just shut down your opponent while you're up there. Nothing much more, but he can shut that down. If Fnatic picks someone else that's like hardcore that you need to shut down, that would make sense, but they have gone with a Malphite. So I don't think that's going to be the case. More than likely, it's going to be switched on support. Jerry's already got it. He's got that exhaust. He'll just sit there and settle with that. Cottonex does like to play very aggressive junglers. We saw him play Olaf in the first few games today. Now, picking up that Lee Sin, it will give him that early game pressure, allow him to roam around the map. We've already seen what people like Diamond Prox can do with Lee Sin, just flying all over the map with an amazing amount of mobility. And if they do combo that with Ahri, their early game roaming is going to be very, very scary for Fnatic.
Yes, so true. We're going to wait for this to be locked in. There is 25 seconds left on the clock before we know for certain if it is going to be Ahri versus Orianna. It's a fairly safe matchup. She's got the mobility. She's going to be able to use that Spirit Rush and just be dashing around 1, 2, 3 times, just getting out of range of that command attack and command dissonance and keeping as much distance between herself and Orianna as possible. That's going to prevent her getting blown up. In addition, if Orianna does get close, just land a charm. You know, one single skill shot, it immediately counts as the rest of the combination. And we do have the champions locked in. So 1 minute left on the clock. Malphite in the top lane, so as he's going to be facing off against Irelia, being played by JWoww. In the middle lane, it's going to be Xpeke playing against Sebastian, who is going to be on Ahri, and of course Peke on Orianna. Our bottom lanes, Corki and Zyra, facing off against Ezreal Nunu, and in the jungle, Cho versus Lee.
Interesting. Rickles he's currently sitting, he's got 15 seconds to change it, but he's currently sitting on a cleanse. Yes, you can cleanse the charm. You could cleanse a slow from Nunu. That's about all he's going to have to worry about. Maybe a stun from Irelia later on in the game once she starts to get down, but she's not going to be too much of an issue for him during the lane phase or maybe in too many ganks, unless they do any kind of switches, but I wouldn't
Keep in mind, it also removes the ignite as well. So remember this, you know, and this is now coming from a player who plays a lot of Vayne, who needs that cleanse to stay alive, and that's when the focus changes. And in the very last second, it does go to summon a heal. So we have 10 seconds left on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to put your hands in the air, clap, and cheer in for the semi-final of the Dreamhack League of Legends Championships! Apparently Linda is very jelly, El. Very, very jelly indeed. This is an awesome, awesome crowd. This is the first semi-final. This is the first set of 3, and we have 3 more sets of 3. You know, well, 3 in total, rather.
Yeah,
2 semis in the grand final.
We have the potential of 9 more games to come. And as we get the updates, we will let you know how the tiebreak situation in Group B is shaping up. Of course, we've still got Copenhagen Wolves got to play Curse. We've still got Mighty Midgets got to play Copenhagen Wolves. So as we get those results, we will let you know. But with the load screen almost done here, we have to get through and, of course, go over your skin war. It's a tight one, but it's got to be with 7C6.
Yeah, you can't give a single skin. Gentleman Cho'Gath is cool and all, but it's the only skin on the Fnatic roster, so we're going to look at the rest of them. The game is loaded up very, very shortly. We're going to be jumping into this one. Both sides have the ability to do well at a level 1 fight. a Nunu Ice Blast could cripple anybody and allow any of the carries from Fnatic to stick to them if they decide to do that. And we know that Fnatic has been trying their level 1 fights relatively often this particular event. So we'll see if they do decide to go for any sort of engagement or any sort of battle. But the game screen is up. We can pull that one up in just a moment. And we can see Fnatic immediately moving over to their blue buff to probably place down a ward.
There's some pings right into the entrance of the Baron pit for the 7C6 Seaman, and the Fnatic have walked straight past that location. So they might have an idea as to where Fnatic are going to be, but by the time they get there, Fnatic will have moved on. So it'll be interesting to see if these two teams do run into each other. They're in the right half of the map. 7C6 Seaman are going to come up around behind Fnatic if they keep making this path. It does look like they've just planted a ward and they're going to make their way back. Fnatic at the same time, they have been pinging onto the right spots for the Seaman. They just haven't managed to actually make their way around there yet, and they're slowly, methodically going to make their way through the enemy jungle. Just checking every last little spot, every last little corner as they go. Just making sure there's none of those Seamen left hiding when they weren't expecting them.
Yeah, just making a nice clean sweep of the entire map, checking every nook and cranny. And at the moment, just with the exception of that little ward being placed down from the Seaman, there's not a lot of information being shared. I flicked over to the vision as they placed that ward down, and nobody had spotted a single member of their opposition. So all of this movement, all of this roaming, and all of this poking has not revealed a single bit of information. Both teams are completely in the dark. The biggest difference, though, this Fnatic ward over on the red buff area of the Seaman, it's going to tell them so much information. It's going to let them know the moment Kotinex has moved over to that buff, it's going to give them a clear indication of when the ganks are going to be coming, and that's going to be a very, very informative ward. On the flip side, a secondary pink ward has actually already been placed at the lower of the river, and once again, just defensive, just making sure that they don't give up more than they need to in these early stages of the game.
If you look at Ahri, she started with her charm at level 1. Now, if you're going for an invade and you spot someone, starting charm level 1 and landing a charm could result in first blood, that makes sense. But considering they didn't see each other, the fact that he's now leveled it's going to make his laning very hard as soon as Orianna realizes that's the ability she started with. It's not a good lane ability for Ahri. She doesn't have very much damage with it. The CC doesn't really help you do so much at these levels. So Orianna could particularly abuse it, especially Orianna, because of the way her passive works and because of those auto attacks. She could really make the most of that. But at the moment, Sebastian hasn't revealed it to Orianna, and Peke is playing very safe and waiting for that Orb of Deception to come flying out.
And again, this is the first game in a series of 3, so teams are not going to want to give away any early advantages. They don't want to throw away a game just because they know there's 2 more coming. You want to go into a best of 3 picking up the early victory and saying, hey, I have 2 chances at picking up the series, picking up the win. This ward up in the top bush is immediately going to see Cyanide, and you can see pings over on Lee Sin because they know that he's picking up the red. They're about to meet face to face. Both champions double buff. Level 3 Cho. Feral Stream comes out. Now we're going to see this is a 2 versus 2. Resonating Strike does land. Rupture manages to knock both of them up. Ignite is ticking on Cyanide. He's forced to run away as quickly as he can. Kotinex does have double buff. Soros is immediately now trying to get away to safety. Rupture is going to land onto Irelia. Kotinex dives back in with the secondary effect of the Q. Feral Scream silences both of them, and everybody gets away. 100 HP on Lee Sin. It's going to slow down his jungle path. So Oasis is down to about 200, 300 of himself, and Cho, well, 350, he can sustain that back up just a little bit. But a lot of aggression, and neither team really focusing one single opponent in that particular engagement.
It was a beautiful bit of play from both teams. The fact those wards, where they placed them, they knew exactly when each of their opposition junglers were going to arrive there. Cyanide started at the red buff, which isn't very normal for a Cho'Gath, but it allowed him to go through the jungle, hit that blue buff at that point, and allowed him to get into that Tribush before Lee Sin. We do see a little bit of harassment down in the bottom lane as J-Reed quickly consumes and ends up killing the ward. Rekkles trading backwards and forward onto Kestrel, but Rated's very low. Has to be careful not to take too much more poke from this Ezreal. He's run out of health potions, so any damage he takes now is going to be permanent. Does has Kotinex now hiding in this bottom bush. There is a ward down here. It's a pink ward on the side of 7C6 Seaman, so they know there's no vision in there apart from that of N-Rated. Jerry is going to lead the charge, walk straight across. He's going to get snared up, try and bait them forward. Rekkles comes out. There's Kotinex dashing in onto the ward, lands a Q on N-Rated, activates it, flies straight on the tower. One more auto attack does land it, but the knockup comes in from Cyanide. They're going to keep the chase. The true damage comes out. Kotinex is going to fall to the ignited Rekkles. They're going to keep the chase onto Kestrel. Cyanide needs to land another good knockup. He does pick it up. The red buff slow is applied. Kestrel's going to fall for a double kill for Rekkles, and Fnatic turn it around.
Yeah, really nicely done. Now in the middle lane, Charm goes up, Pekka gets caught, he's put the Ignite down, come on, attack goes down. Ignites are ticking for both champions, it's not going to be enough to pick up a kill. First blood goes to the Seaman, but Fnatic with an immediate double kill reply.
It's a much better pickup for Fnatic as well. Double kill onto their AD carry. Yes, Ezreal picked up the first blood, but he also died, so then he's going to lose all this creep experience and gold as it's falling to the turret. J-Ray will pick it up, yes, but it's not quite the same as Rekkles getting it for Fnatic, so that bottom lane is going to swing heavily in the Fnatic favor unless Kotnex can come back down there and cause some other kind of impact later on.
Well, we'll see how this plays out. Both champions now sitting with the double Doran's Blade, their boots. The difference is, of course, that Corki already has his Ruby Crystal in hand, so he's starting to work towards that phage, and for the next couple of minutes, he's going to have that red buff. That's going to be in his side, and that's definitely going to play into his favor. It's going to help with last hitting, it's going to help with harass, and he's going to be able to just keep a little bit more control over this lane in the bottom. Up in the top lane, Malphite already forced to pick up a Chain Vest very, very early. He's gone boots and Chain Vest, obviously suffering a little bit from the auto attacks from Irelia, and it makes sense. You know, Malphite, as long as he can farm himself in, if that becomes a Sunfire Cape, that's perfect. That's part of a core build on a champion like Malphite, and the Chain Vest early is just going to help him survive those early trades and harass against Irelia.
Do get another quick snare down onto Kestra on the bottom lane from Enraged, but it is just a little bit of harass, landing those plants, landing the snare, just a little bit of damage to get annoying, make him use those health potions. Does catch Phosphorus Bomb in the backside from Rekkles as well. Bastion going to go and try and steal that Wraith camp, but Cho'Gath is standing in there waiting, and Peke just comfortably farming back in the mid lane. If we actually look at the numbers across these two in the mid, 45 CS to 37. There is a slight lead there for Peke, but because of the way he's shopped, all that's gained him is an advantage of 2 wards. 2 wards which he hasn't placed yet. So at the moment, it's not really too different. But once he starts to get those down, he's going to have that safety from Lee Sin that Ari's not going to have. And Cho'Gath is very, very strong at ganking that mid lane. That's silence. Once you start to level it up, it does max out to 3 seconds, which while it sounds very small, in the grand scheme of things, and in the space of time these ganks take, 3 seconds is a long period of time. On top of that, you add in the knock-up and the resulting slow, and Orianna's going to have got all her damage out, all her whole combo and an ignite in that short space of time.
Down in the bottom lane, we do see that Kotnex is coming in for a gank again. He does land the Sonic Wave, is going to get the Tempest. Cripple comes down, Enrated is slow, he's taking so much damage from Ezreal. Is he going to go down again? It does look like it. Is he now the true damage? If this lands, it could set Rekkles up. Kestrel is very, very low. There's no more red buff. Rekkles decides he cannot fight 1 versus 3, but he wants to. He's so bad, he wants to pick up the kill. Peke, if we can get a flash ultimate, it may be enough. Decides to come backwards as Sebastian is on his tail. Feral Scream lands onto Ari. Rupture's going to land as well. Cyanide landing every single Rupture thus far. Kotnex dives in, safeguards over to Ari, blocks some of the damage, and eventually this starts to fizzle away. The thing is, Peke and Cyanide, they're thinking about this blue buff now. Command attack goes down. They've got a lot of HP, they've got a lot of mana, and I believe Smite is available for Cyanide in just a few seconds, so they're going to try to challenge for this one. Attack, Dissonance, Shockwave, Kotnex gets knocked up, Ignite is ticking, that's going to pick up a kill. Fnatic with a great reply. They lose 1, but they take advantage of the situation, stealing the blue buff and picking up a kill for themselves. All the while, the 2 bruisers up top and giving gentle love taps to one another.
Yep, so it's starting to outtrade Joao. There's a big wave of creeps there. Joao, yes, he's going to have that true damage. He can auto-attack through, so is his armor. But with all those creeps there, he's going to lose the trade just in the long run because they're going to do more damage. So he's going to have to let this come to the turret and watch it turn around and back away in just a moment. But ultimately, it is now 3-2. Fnatic are up by 1,000 gold. There is still that early strength of Lee Sin. He's not quite fallen off yet. Kotnex can still do something, but 0-2, and all he has is the Madra's Razors. Part of his Wriggles Lantern not quite finished yet, so he needs to get some farm on. He's only got 28 CS to the 39 of Cho, and with those Moby Boots, with that Tart of Gold, Cyanide's going to start looking to get his Oracles soon. And once he's done that, he's going to take all the vision that the 766 demon have on the map, which really limits Lee Sin's movement.
Yeah, you need to have that vision control. Make sure you remove as many wards as possible. Fnatic's wards in the bottom lane have been very aggressive and very good. They've fallen victim to ganks from Kotnex, so great play from the Seaman to actually set those up to begin with, but they have the ability to turn them around, and that's what's key at this moment in time. Up in the top lane, once again, these trades going back and forth. Soaz finds himself in a little bit of trouble. Blade Surge is going to go forward. Equilibrium Strike's going to slow him down just a little bit. Now the Tempest and the Cripple comes in. Unstoppable Force immediately knocks them up. Feral Scream and Rupture. There comes the feast. Om nom nom. Dragon's Rage kick backwards, but it's not enough. Cyanide has landed every single Rupture he has tried to land on an enemy champion, and as long as he continues to do that, and he continues to successfully gank, Fnatic are setting themselves up for a phenomenal mid-game.
Yeah, brilliant play by Cyanide. As we said before, Cho'Gath's not one of his first champions. Not one of the champions that springs to mind when you first mentioned him. In actual fact, bottom lane, Stranglethorns have used, but they don't manage to land a knock-up on anyone. Kestrel, J-Ray using that Blood Bowl just run out of range of it in time. But yeah, Cyanide, he's obviously been practicing his Cho'Gath. He's not one of the first champions you think of when you see his name, but he's been playing it to phenomenal effect. And there is that Oracles, allowing that extra kill, allowing that map control. Cotnex just needs to sit in his jungle for a while now and just take camp after camp and just get that experience back. Even if it's when Irelia recalls with him, he goes and takes some lane experience. He needs to try and catch up. He hasn't bought anything substantial other than potions or wards in the last 5 minutes or so. He really, really is far behind.
Down in the bottom lane, grasping roots, holds Kestrel in place. He takes the phosphorus bombs for his trouble. He's trading relatively well, but at least this point in time, their HP is a fair bit different. If Reckles and Enrated decided to go aggressive, they could potentially pick up a kill. Instead, though, it does look like Enrated's going to be recalling. A quick look at the gold numbers down at the bottom of your screen. You can see exactly who is earning what and who has money to spend. No extremely large gaps right now, but there is only 1,500 gold that separates these two teams. It is very, very even, and the only thing that the team really need to do to keep control of this matchup is make sure they don't give away any more challenges. And Soaz gets jumped on once again. This time there's no Cyanide to help him out. Red buff is ticking on his side, so he's going to be able to apply some slows, and the rest of Cotnex and JWoww, they just don't chase. You know, Soaz just a little too strong. He had flash available if he wanted to, but they simply couldn't chain anything together.
Now in the bottom lane, we've got Reckless chasing onto J-Ree, but Cyanide comes out from the river, silences across the bush. He's going to try and land the knockup, does fire a little bit too far in front. The feast goes out, but with a quick flash from Reckless, he's managed to fire off that last auto attack and pick up the kill.
Fnatic close it up 5-2 right now. Corki is 3-0-0. The fact that they've picked up that kill in the bottom lane signals attention to the Dragon. Fnatic are going to start paying attention to this Drake, but maybe they're going to chase up to the middle lane because there's a lot of damage going down onto it. The problem is when Lee Sin's left, you know, Ari's not bad at taking towers, but you really need Lee Sin there, that auto-attacking champion, especially considering he's got the first pieces of Wriggle's Lantern there, to really put some decent damage down onto it. First Drake goes down a little after 12 seconds. And Soaz finds himself running into a Cotnex. There goes the Dragon Range kick backwards. Cotnex is going to land the Sonic Wave, followed up with a Resonating Strike. In the middle lane, Stranglethorns goes down. There's a beautiful unstoppable Shockwave. Only catches Cotnex because Sebastian has moved out of the way. Orianna picks up the first kill. We see JWoww. He jumps onto Zyra, picks up one. If he can get 1 or 2 more hits, that'll be a double kill. Let's see what he can do. The true shot damage, or true damage comes past. That's a double for JWoww. While all that's happening, Peke is chasing Sebastian. Command attack goes down. 1 or 2 more auto attacks. He gets one back, but he's behind enemy lines. Can he get away? JWoww decides not to chase this one because he is very, very low. 7-4 up. That was 2 for 2. But they gave Irelia 2 kills. You cannot give Irelia golden items.
Yeah, the saving grace you have here at the moment, if you're Fnatic, the rest of the 76 sellers are a long way behind, so she's not going to have that backup. Yes, she's going to be strong. She's going to dive straight into the back of your team. She's going to start doing work onto Reckles, but you can afford to switch onto her, focus her, kill her, and then go back to the rest of the team because they don't have, and they won't be doing any damage here at the moment. So the rest of the CC sellers do need to catch up before they can really worry about Irelia being strong. But if you keep giving her kills, she's going to be able to help get them strong by roaming around, by controlling fights around Dragon when that starts to respawn.
Yeah, so true. Irelia, a champion that does so well in those small skirmishes and those small engagements, and even better in the big team fights. When it just matters, you know, everybody getting a little caught out. You've seen members of Fnatic going up to defend that middle lane tower, deciding to commit to a fight, but without really knowing where everybody was, without really knowing where every single member of this human were. And you see them trying again to pick up this blue buff. This will be the second time they've stolen. That went down incredibly fast. Ice Blast goes down. Sonic Wave has landed. It's not going to be followed up with a Resonating Strike this time, but with the Oracles, they clear out a ward in the river. And we see up in the top lane, Soaz, he does not have Ignite or Unstoppable Force. If it was available, you got to feel that he was in a position where he could kill JWoww.
He's sitting there, it's on 13 seconds, and he's waiting. JWoww has decided to back away into his own jungle instead, though. We do now have Orianna pushing Sebastian up under this mid tower. Obviously, we saw Sebastian earlier on the last game of the group stage playing a phenomenal Katarina. There's no argument as to why that was banned earlier, but Zari is having a little bit more of an issue behind Peke. Peke 3-0 with 127 CS here at the moment. We do still have a little bit of poke coming out from it. He's just keeping him pressured under the turret and forcing him to fight that tower for CS. Reckles doing the same thing in the bottom lane has resulted in another 10-15 gold CS lead for him too. So across the board, Fnatic are just winning ever so slightly in those CS games, just out creeping
pulling themselves ahead, you know, little bit by little bit, millimeter by millimeter. But something I do need to point out, take a look at the vision there from Fnatic. If I switch over to F1, you can see Ari, a little character portrait pops up on the minimap. You immediately get 4 back pings from the rest of Fnatic. The flip side, this is the vision for the sailors, the seamen as it were. They simply don't have that same amount of information available to them. And in a game like this, information is what wins you matches. And each of the lanes are trading back and forth a little bit, but as soon as they see Ari in the middle lane, we do see her going very, very low. Ignite is ticking. Is it going to be enough? She is going to use first this proc of her ultimate to go down, and a full combination from Peke immediately bursts them. The low health ping warning comes up. KartaNex flashes forward, misses the Sonic Wave, is going to just get the cripple, but it's not going to be enough. And unfortunately, the fact that that Sonic Wave misses. Now on the bottom lane, there's another engagement as Zyra and Rekkles manage to pick up a kill onto Nunu. They're going to carry on chasing. Rupture doesn't land. And I'm just going to have to keep watching this minimap a little more closely.
Cyanide is staying down here for a little while on the bottom lane. He's got that Oracle. They're going to keep this push on to the turret. He's only Kestrel here, and we've seen how well Cyanide's been landing knockups. He does get another one in there, but Kestrel's got the arcane shift off anyway. It will also be silenced, but the rest of Fnatic and Rated and Rekkles are still down here, shoving this bottom turret hard, so it does look like they're actually ready to finally take this. And will Rekkles stay a little bit long enough? He's going to run out of creep shortly, and they'll let the next wave come in and do it for them, but Kestrel's going to stay there, so he might just have managed to save it. We'll wait and see. Fnatic starting to grab these towers, going to grab themselves a bit of global gold from that, a bit of global map control, taking the vision away from the C6 sailors, of course. This is Seaman, sorry. And when they're in the bottom lane, it opens up that dragon, because okay, Fnatic have been able to grab kills, they've been able to take it before, but without that bottom turret, that gives Fnatic a massive area they can loop around behind the C6 Seaman if they try and come down and contest that dragon. So they have to be very careful, and they have to ward a lot better, just in case.
In the interim, as the game has been slowly progressing in favor of Fnatic, they've increased their gold lead now to 5,000 gold. Numbers are in your bottom. It is starting to show quite significantly. Orianna up in the middle lane, 6,400 gold to 4,300 gold, which is a very, very big difference. In terms of our bottom lane carries, 5,700 to 4,700. That's nearly a zeal, at least one piece of a Trinity Force. So, you know, it's starting to show. And the second that money is spent and it actually materializes in the form of these items, Fnatic are going to be able to actually win the team fights even more convincingly because they simply have a statistical advantage.
Cyanide in his bottom bush will clear another ward out using his oracles. So as he's trying to come into that turret, he wants to try and make something happen, but of course he's got that Sunfire Cape, so he's hitting Zhao every time he comes close, taking the turret aggro. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, there's a lot of different portraits. KartaNex is here, hiding in that bush with Jerry. Kestrel's still down here as well. Both obviously members of Fnatic's bottom lane, and Rated and Rekkles are here. Snare goes up onto Jerry. Cyanide is around behind the turret. The turret is still very low on health, so Cyanide comes to rejoin the rest of his squad. Has of course got that Oracle because he was roaming around the bushes trying to clear it, and they're going to go in. The 7cc team has suddenly realised what mistake they've made and start to back away as soon as Cyanide arrives. So Cyanide goes out, but he doesn't manage to land the knockup. Jerry forced to flash away from that Stranglethorn. Doesn't manage to make it out alive, but Sebastian's coming down. He's forced to use his ult to get over the walkers. Peke followed him. And C6 Seaman looking shaky here under this bottom turret.
Yeah, a little bit shaky. They were trying to set something up. They wanted to jump onto Nunu and Corki, but they didn't think that Cyanide was going to be nearby with his Cho'Gath. But the top lane, Zhao forced to recall, or deciding to recall, spend some of that money that he's earned up. Peke is going to be going in this middle lane, eats a charm in his face, and actually start to back off. Ari, of course, not having her ultimate available means she couldn't dive forward, and a second dragon of the game looks like it's going to go to Fnatic in a very, very easy, uncontested fashion.
Oh, there it is, blue team has slain the second dragon. 7,000 gold lead for Fnatic, and it's slowly growing. And as we mentioned before, this team for the C6 Hellas is very early game orientated. Just with Lee Sin, with Nunu, with Juicy Soas ulting into the mid lane, missing his ult thanks to a very quick reaction from Sebastian, using his own ult to get out of the range from it. Soas is now going to be initiated on by KartaNex and by JWoww. They're going to do a lot of damage here. KartaNex with a great kick, kicking Peke back in towards JRee. JWoww will get the kill onto Soas. They're now going to chase down onto Peke in towards the river. The Q is landing from KartaNex. They're going to keep the chase up. There's the Ice Blast. KartaNex will pick up the next kill. Kestrel comes in to steal it with a Mystic Shot, and it does go to the 7c6 Seaman. They're immediately making their way up the river now towards the middle half of the map. The question is, are they going to take a turret, or are they going to rotate into the Baron? There's a big death timer here on this Fnatic 2, and with only Cyanide and Rated and Rekkles up, they might just have been strong enough to try and take it.
Yeah, the crowd goes wild when they see the kills. The 7c6 Seaman putting together a very, very nice combination of abilities. That flash was an instantaneous flash. The second Sebastian seen Malphite, he immediately knew exactly how much trouble he was in, and he put himself out of range of that unstoppable force, and of course the shockwave had been blown. Peke had thrown it on there, anticipating the unstoppable force to land, so it's two huge ultimates that simply did not affect their opponents. Crowd is enjoying the game thus far, and so are we. But it is still a 5,000 gold lead. After that middle push, they decided to back off, and Fnatic have replied by picking up their own, their opponent's middle tower. So they've immediately balanced it out. The gold that they lost from that tower engagement has now been immediately picked up. Zaris is putting some damage down into Sebastian. Not really afraid. He's tanking up the tower. Philosopher's Stone and that Sunfire Cape, as well as his Granite Shield passive, is going to block a good chunk of the damage. And while Fnatic is shoving the middle.
All three GP10 out of now completely unrated, including the Cage's lucky picks. We're going to start getting a little bit of ability power. It's not uncommon to see Zyra supports, especially Zyra's in rated for that matter, especially Zyra's in this position where your team's so far ahead, where you've got a massive gold lead, where you can afford to sit back and save up some gold for a while, to go straight into this build, grab those Spellpin boots, and next up, just build a straight Zhonya. If he has a good fight, if he picks up a couple of the kills, or they grab a Baron or a Dragon straight after it, and they get a big stack of gold, and he has that 1600 waiting, to then quickly build a Zhonya's, just because of how awesomely that Stranglethorn scales alongside that, and then allowing himself obviously to have the little bit of survivability using that quick Zhonya Hourglass proc to make himself untargetable and stop taking damage. But we'll see how well the game goes. It's there's not too many items here which Fnatic really need. I mean, they've got an Aegis of the Legion. Shurelia's is not something they really strongly need in because they've got that Malphite initiate with the Unstoppable Force instead. They've got a little bit of movement speed buff from Orianna's W. So if they really wanted it, he could build straight up damage.
Yeah, it's going to see how it plays out. I wouldn't actually take a look at his SwordShus as well, so that's definitely going to be helping out. RaidCall is in a little bit of trouble on this bottom lane. If he eats an Ice Blast, he may need to be forced to pop his flash. He does make it back to a tower. Peke is making his way down. Jerry may be considering this dive, lands 1 or 2 auto attacks now with Peke in the fight, and his ultimate is available. We're going to see there's the attack. Decides not to use it this time around. Attack, dissonance, shockwave. Kestrel forced to be taken out in the bottom lane. Lulu was also channeling his Absolute Zero. Keep that in mind. He was hiding in the bush, trying to land the Absolute Zero, trying to bait people into it. A little bit low on mana. Blood Boil is available. Now we're going to see him hop, skipping, and jumping. The little Yeti wants to get to life. Enrated throws out the glass. Moves a flash from Jerry. Can he get away? This is the question. Attack and dissonance. He does get silenced. Blood Boil is about to wear off. There's the movement slow. With a little bit more attacks, and they're going to leave it for Corki to pick up. But he took Fnatic on a walk. He pushed them around the map a little bit. He delayed them from taking any other objectives or pushing any other lanes. And that was nice. There's the Unstoppable Force now onto Cotton. Sebastian uses the first proc of Spirit Rush. There's no shockwave to pull him back in. And Fnatic just look like they're going to siege this tower.
JY is going to go and take the top turret, so that's going to level that up to 3 and 2. But Fnatic immediately respond by taking this tier 2 turret in the middle lane. Only Cottonex was here to defend it. He had to back off onto that Unstoppable Force from Malphite. Sebastian's there too, and now Kestrel's here, but it's not enough. The turret is already down, so Fnatic will back away and head down that mid lane. JY are going to recall from that top lane. Haven't really seen him take part in too many fights yet. We've seen him obviously playing against Soaz, just farming up there in the top lane. He's up to 192 CS, so he's getting pretty rich. For me, actually, look at his gold count, 7,200. He's a long way ahead of everyone else on his team. Only Ezreal's getting close, and he's got those 3 kills, of course. But as far as Malphite goes, Malphite's a little bit further ahead. Cho'Gath's behind him. Orianna and Corki, though, are a long way in front. So, yeah, he needs to get involved in these fights, but he's not quite strong enough yet. He wants to finish this Trinity Force. He's got a Wit's End. He needs a Trinity Force, and even then, he's going to get taken down very quickly when these fights start. He's going to need a bit of backup from his team, and I don't think they have the health or the damage to really do that for him.
Zhonya's Hourglass has been picked up by Peke now, and that's going to help him out. As you mentioned, the health and the damage, the ability to take out members of Fnatic becomes exponentially harder when they have items like a Zhonya's Hourglass. If JWoww does decide to jump aggressively onto anyone from Fnatic and tries to focus down Orianna, it's going to play against them. Ward goes down. This one does get 1 or 2 auto attacks. Command attack comes out from Orianna. They're going to be a little careful because Soaz is not in the party right now. He's all the way up in the top lane, making sure that gets shoved down. RaidCall is going to pick up most of this farm in the bottom lane. You know what? We were questioning, oh, take a look at this. The Stranglethorns goes down, doesn't manage to knock anybody up. RaidCall is sticking onto Kestrel. We're going to stick on that one really quickly as he goes down. Now we see Jerry. He's going to be dropped from the Ignite. This is 3 members of Fnatic chasing. Soaz is going to get in range. Stranglethorns comes up. JWoww with a very nice Blade Surge over the wall. He's going to get to safety. Cottonex and Sebastian are running for their lives. Can they get away from the monster gentleman Cho'Gath? Have your tea. Nom nom nom. Good sir. Unstoppable Force throws JWoww into the air. Glowing blue. The dissonance is going to slow him ticking away on the Ignite. HP is going to be enough to survive the Ignite. Ignite, but Reckles is going to be there. Red buff, Valkyrie auto attack. This has to be a Baron for Fnatic, and that was a great, great fight.
That was a beautiful play, just sitting there with that ball waiting in the bush for him to walk in, initiated with a shockwaves. Not often you see that straight as the first spell, and of course slowing them all, chasing them out of their jungle. It was just a little bit of experience showing through for Fnatic. They've been playing like this as a team for a long, long time now. They know what they're doing, they're communicating, they're playing very well as a squad. The 7C6 Seaman, not quite so coordinated. That was close.
That was very close.
Very hard to try and steal away from a Cho'Gath, if not from Cyanide anyway. So, nice try, but not quite there. But yeah, just a little bit split up, not quite all in one group, didn't all know exactly where they wanted to go, trying to escape in very split paths, not quite ready, and Fnatic just steamrolled through them slowly but surely, taking that Baron off the back of it.
As predicted, Zhonya's Hourglass has been picked up by support Zyra. Panky wins 5 million internet points. On the rest of the itemizations, Negatron Cloak and Chain Vest, as well as Shirelia's Reverie, picked up by Malphite. A Chain Vest in conjunction with the Giant's Belt in the hands of Cyanide's Cho'Gath. Another Blasting Wand sitting with Pick's Orianna, and as I said, Infinity Edge and Hourglass. It actually looks like he accidentally activated it. The cooldown has been blown, so Enrated
as soon as he got off the fountain, he was trying to drag it from the 6th spot to the 3rd spot, and because he's a massive scrub, he activated it and stood there for a couple of seconds.
So there we go. You've heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Panky is calling Enrated the massive scrub. I like it, but he has blown his Hourglass cooldown, so that's not going to be available for a while. With the Baron buff in hand and a 12,000 gold lead, you have to feel that this is Fnatic's game right now. They are potentially looking to go 1-0 up in this best of 3. The 7C6 Seaman need to be deciding what do they do in the rest of the series. They simply cannot pick an engagement. I mean, True Shot Barrage caught absolutely everybody, and it did practically nothing. Rupture goes down, Stranglethorns comes up, Feral Scream comes down, Zyra gets one, Reckles picks up the next. Now they're going to chase onto Kestrel. You'll see the Shirelia's Reverie has been popped. Joey gets a very good channel on his Absolute Zero, but it's not enough to get to the feast and the rest of the damage. Soaz is just a man beast at the moment, running through everyone. Jwal sacrifices himself to try and delay the tower as best as he can. Kestrel forced out of the fight, and that's 4 members of them down. GGs have been called already. I believe they're just going to allow Fnatic to run through the base and take it out.
So there it is. GG well played, as you said, called in chat. Surrender vote has gone through. Don't even need to see the Nexus turrets fall. Fnatic will take game number 1 in this best of 3 series for our semi-final.